Hello, I'm Alan Pentecote, Executive Director for the Southern California Rental Housing Association. We are a 100-year-old organization here in Southern California for rental property owners, managers, and suppliers to our industry. Welcome to our latest video of getting to know our members. Where we welcome and continue to profile and define who the rental housing industry is. So today we will feature a longtime member of the industry and the association, a friend of mine. Our guest today is past president, Stacy Wells. Stacy, can you tell us about yourself?
Hi, good morning, Alan. I'm so happy to see you. My name is Stacy Wells, and I have actually been in the multifamily industry for about 25 years. I started when I was 10, of course. But I actually started in the industry by accident. I was looking for just a temporary position while I was a teacher. And I ended up as being placed through a temp agency as a leasing consultant. I had no idea what that was, but I fell into it and I loved it. On my second day at work, I rented my very first apartment. I can still tell you her name and what apartment number she rented. But what I found was that by helping people find what I consider the most important thing in somebody's life, and that's their home, that it really brought me just as much joy helping somebody else find their home. And I've been in the industry ever since. And I'm very passionate, as you know, as my friend, and seeing me in the association over the years, but it's just something I'm truly passionate about because housing is a critical thing in everybody's life.
Absolutely. It's a great story. So were you in college when you got the job?
Actually, I was out of college. I was a kindergarten teacher, and I ended up not loving teaching, but I was doing it. And then my husband and I got transferred to Arizona, and I wasn't credentialed at the time to teach in Arizona, and we were only going to be there temporarily. So I just went and got a temporary job, and I never looked back.
That's interesting. That's the thing a lot of people find about this industry. It's completely portable. I mean, wherever you go in the world, there's rental units.
Wherever you go. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that at least in the early 90s, you didn't really know about. And now you can actually go to college and get a 4-year degree. And, you know, it's so amazing. And I'm lucky enough that I get to teach in different colleges, some of these courses. And it's one of the most rewarding things is to see people who are coming now into the industry as their goal, not just something they fell into.
It's funny, I did some research on this with the National Apartment Association a few years back, and interesting enough, originally when this property management was taught in college, it was taught as a home ec class. It was a domestic, right. it was domestic education class. That's what it was, and in some universities on the East Coast, it still is. It's kind of interesting, but there are a lot of parallels with that. So that, and you know, it's one of the reasons I always say that our industry really ties in well here in San Diego with military families, because you got a spouse that's serving, and the other spouse can take a job in our industry, and it's portable. It goes with them wherever they go, they want.
So anywhere.
Yeah.
It really across the world, right? I mean, I've had, and you and I have both experienced this, where we see people from other countries coming into the United States really just to want to meet with us and to see how we run our multifamily business. And so it's always interesting to compare those parallels.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up, because we do have sister associations in Japan, in Canada, and the UK that have all partnered and come down and visited with us in San Diego. So it's awesome.
I really enjoy when they come. It's so much fun.
Housing providers are often seen in a negative light in our industry, unfortunately. You know, what would you want to say to people that, you know, to counter that, you know?
Yeah, you know, it makes me so sad, because remember when the dream was to be a homeowner? And I remember being a little girl and my mom and dad buying their house, and that being really instilled in me. And what people don't always understand is, although there are a lot of big multifamily companies out there, a lot of our landlords and property owners are just your small mom and pop people who own 1 or 2 units, people who have a home that they're now, maybe it's too big for them or too small for them, but they don't want to let it go just in case, so I'm going to rent it out. And sometimes those are the best landlords you can ever have, and you form these really long relationships with people. And I don't think that people always see it that way. And, we're really struggling right now as an industry because of that reputation of we're these big greedy landlords that raise rent 20% a year. I can promise you that's not what we want to do. Landlords, we're in the business to house people. We want you to live in our community. We fight to get you to come live in our community. The amount of money we spend advertising our home, our condo, our apartment, whatever it might be, for you to find us and to come to us is really important. And so when we create that relationship, we don't want that relationship to end. We don't want you to move out because I have to start the process over, which is awful.
Yeah.
And, nothing breaks my heart more than when I used to have a resident come to me and say, oh gosh, I got a new job, I have to move away, or, I'm always excited for people when they're going to go and do something that's exciting in their life, but it's never fun to lose a resident. And I wish that people really understood how much we genuinely care and value our residents. And it's interesting because, especially during the coronavirus and this pandemic, that's the one thing that we've really been most worried about is how do we make sure our residents are being taken care of?
Yeah, that was one of the first things that came up is, what do we do for our residents? How do we accommodate them? How do we make sure the property is safe and make sure everyone's, going to be able to service them in that new realm? That was one of the first questions that came out from our members. It's interesting you talk about the long-term members and the long-term tenants. We have, we're a 100-year-old organization now.
Right.
So we have members that have been around 20, 30, 40, some even 50 years. And I can't tell you, it's, 2-3 times a year I've talked to a member that they've had the same tenants for 20 plus years.
Oh yeah.
And they're great with it. And you don't do something that long with the same tenants if you don't love it. I mean, you just don't. I mean, that's just unheard of to do something that long.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's funny because throughout my career in 25 years, I do work with very small, owners, but I also work with really large owners. And I have some owners where they've owned a community, sold it, 10 years later, bought the community again, and I'll go to that community and there will be residents there from the first time that we owned it. And I just, that is amazing. And people remember me just like I remember them, and they're always shocked when I remember them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why would I not remember you?
I always like the stories of the owners who sold a property and then a year later they just miss it and they regret it. That was like the worst decision I ever made. I love that property. I love the people there. It happens so often. What has the, you mentioned COVID, what has the SCRHA been able to do for you and the company you work for in terms of the industry during the pandemic?
Oh, Alan, if I could only really formulate sentences properly to explain how, I don't think I could have done my job in the last 7 months without the support of not just our association here in San Diego, but really at a as well. One of the things that is my primary job on a daily basis is writing policies and procedures, and it's really become my full-time job supporting owners and companies and making sure that they have procedures in place. And let's face it, we've all had to learn this on a daily basis. Yes. And I've been called the COVID queen. I've been called all sorts of things like, how did you get so much knowledge about COVID? And because I go to my association, I talk to my peers, I read CDC website at night. I read. And without the white papers at the association and all the great meetings and classes that you guys have provided, I don't know what I would have done, especially when it comes to the rent moratoriums. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Those rolled out so quickly. They are changing on a daily basis. And thank gosh for you guys, because you guys really did such an outstanding job at making sure we really understood the county guidelines, the city guidelines, because how many cities do we have within San Diego County? Not to mention the state, the federal. Oh my gosh, there's so many to choose from. But you guys really made it very easy for us. You had the forms for us, so I didn't have to recreate or make my own.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is daunting, and I give a lot of kudos to our team for everything they did. I mean, we would tear apart the legislation, write out what's going to happen, start publicizing it overnight, and the next morning we got new legislation, and it was just going on. We have these monster spreadsheets. You know, we have 19 jurisdictions in San Diego County alone, including the county. That's just San Diego. That's not including our portion of our Imperial County or our portion of Riverside.
Point.
It goes into the 60 some jurisdictions. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
You're right. I mean, legislation will pass one day and then they'll change wording in it 2 days later, and it's like trying to keep up with it. It's a challenge. And so it's really taken the entire industry to come together. And where do we come together at? The association.
Yeah. So thank you, Stacy. I really appreciate you joining us today, and thank you for your perspective and your very kind comments. If you're watching this and want to know more about our organization, you can find us at www.socalrha.org. To see other interviews from members of the industry, visit our YouTube channel, socalrha.com. So goodbye for now, and thank you again, Stacy.
Thanks.